Hello and welcome to Filmfolket's podcast. We that speaks today is Göran,
Johannes,
Daniel.
Today's movie is The Phantom from 1996. The movie in brief.
In the early 1500s, a boy barely escapes an attack by pirates of the Seng Brotherhood. Cast ashore on the distant Bengala, he is found by locals who nurse him back to health and give him a strange skull ring. He swears on the spirit of his murdered father to become a figure of justice. The seemingly immortal hero, the Phantom. Centuries later, in 1938, his descendant Kit Walker, the 21st Phantom in an unbroken line, pursues the sinister businessman Sander Drax, who with the aid of Seng is trying to find the mysterious skull of Tuganda and harness their apparent power.
That is a good summary. And I think this is a movie that I have either seen in the cinema or on VHS. And it was many years since I saw it the last time. But I sort of remember pieces from the movie. Especially when they were gonna drive the truck over the rope bridge. That's one of the classic scenes. And also the end scene when they're in this mountain thing with the ships and everything.
Stylistically, as per Lee Falk's comics in their old-timey way, it's an optimistic adventure with a clear black and white morality, something that had really slipped by the 90s in the dark, edgy anti-hero culture of the time. That it's basically an old-fashioned heroic adventure and is usually more grounded, but they added supernatural elements in the movie. The story lifts a few things from Lee Falk's first two Phantom comics from 1936, the Sing Brotherhood and the Sky Band.
I mean, I like the movie even if it has a lot of cheesy dialogue, but it has its charm in it. And also some of the effects is kind of interesting, especially when with the end scene with the four skulls. And I think most of the explosion effects are okay for the time, I guess.
Yeah, we have to consider that this is CGI from 1996. So maybe time has given us a strange perspective on these things, but some things were actually good for the time.
I like the main bad guy in this movie. He's very energetic how he speaks and everything, even when he's about to die. He gives up a very loud sentence.
Yes, he's very exuberant about it. He is Treat Williams. He plays Drax as this deliciously over-the-top character, and he doesn't pretend not to be silly. He knows exactly what kind of movie he's in, and I think that just generally it's basically the tone of the movie. It doesn't take itself too excessively seriously, but at the same time it's you need these kinds of characters to really emphasize the
comic book aspect of it.
Yeah, make it more comic booky, and that's really great about his acting there.
It's a bit silly, it's a bit cheesy, but it is entertaining. From what I can remember, I thought it was really bad back then, but it wasn't as bad when I watch it now. I feel like it's, like I said, it's entertaining.
You have Christy Swanson as Diana, and I think that's interesting as she played Buffy the Vampire Slayer. in the older movie. And you have Catherine Zeta-Jones as a sultry sky pirate.
But that phantom suit, it's ugly. It's very silly.
There were some choices made, so to speak. It's interesting because as we're familiar with the Phantom here in Sweden, he is usually drawn blue, but in the original comics he was purple. So that's why he looks like that. They tried to define his features on the suit by drawing these symbols outlining his body, and I think that's interesting stylistically, but it's still a guy in a purple suit in the jungle, so it can't not look silly. I actually read up about that, and it's pretty funny how all this is due to the comics being shipped outside the United States had no coloring guide. They were all black and white, and that led to different countries basically doing their own thing with the coloration. So you have the blue Swedish Phantom, but you also have the Phantom in Turkey, who is red. And I think his name basically translates to the red mask. Phantom was actually the first hero with a skin-tight suit and a mask without visible pupils. It's a thing that's become incredibly common in superhero media. And he is considered a transitional figure from the older pulp adventure heroes like Tarzan and later comic book superhero media with Superman and Batman and that kind of a thing. I think it's interesting that you have this tribe, the rope people, the Bangala natives, who are very visually peculiar because they are Southeast Asians in stereotypical African garb. And that's a product of rewrites throughout the years as to the location of the place. It's been moved about a bit, and hence the name Bangala. But it was South Asian until the 60s, when it became African. And for the movie they also renamed the pirates from Sing to Seng. And that's, I think, is probably due to how Singh is a religious surname of Sikhs. So they are made vaguely East Asian instead, rather than excessively Punjabi. You have to consider that a comic book from the 1930s had a lot of problematic stereotypes and design choices, so to speak.
I was wondering what could have been done differently, and other thoughts.
Well, I would have liked to see more of Devil. He's a trusty old wolf. More scenes with the devil. The pacing it's very fast. Everything is moving very fast. But I guess they want to put in as much as possible in a not too long movie. I don't remember, how long is it?
I think it's basically 100 minutes long, so pretty standard, but it feels like it's going really fast. It doesn't feel like a very long movie.
Yeah, I feel like they could have increased the movie length a little bit, giving some more exposition on things and such, because I feel like it's going way too fast.
I was thinking the same thing. Build up the whole mystery about the skulls and the greater threat of the thing. I mean, if Drax is looking for these skulls to basically become a dictator, you have these hints that he is part of the industrial elite that are basically fascist adjacent, and he basically wants to be the dictator of the United States. That kind of a thing could have really been built up a lot more. Made him more of a threat, more than an eccentric businessman who wants to collect some skulls.
Yeah, I feel the same. It's kind of like you blink and you missed something important. It goes way too fast. Even in the beginning when the narrator is talking, it feels like they're rushing the whole thing. It feels like he wants to tell more, but there's no time.
I think it's down to how the movie was cut with the introduction sequence and all of that. It assumes too much of the audience knowing who the Phantom is. They could have built up that a little bit more too, without really affecting the length of the movie in any meaningful measure.
And something telling me it's all about the budget. It usually comes down to the budget. And that's probably why it ended up like this.
Speaking of the budget, I was thinking that the skulls of Tuganda artifacts are pretty badly designed. They look like cheap Halloween decorations, and it wouldn't have taken much at all to make them look slightly more handmade and weathered rather than something they picked up at the store on the way to the movie shooting. So it's they look pretty bad, especially the golden skull near the end. That's more or less looks spray painted. I think Billy Zane does a good job as the Phantom. They picked a good actor for it. He has that look with the mask on and everything. Something about his face structure, it just works. And his acting style, I mean, he comes across as this benevolent, charming hero character. It works.
It's kind of sad that they didn't make any more Phantom movies. I know that they made like sort of ish animated TV series, which was more towards modern, into the future. And that one was quite okay, but they never did like another feature movie of it, from my knowledge.
How well did it do in the cinema?
It wasn't particularly successful, and I think that's down to, like I said, it's a throwback. It came out at a time where these basically superhero media was all about these dark, edgy anti-hero characters as a product of the basically the Frank Miller era of things. So as a superhero movie, it really clashed with the tone of the predominant culture, and basically it was big deal of fan service to those already attached to the franchise, but it couldn't really reach outside of that.
I mean, do you think that this movie would have been more successful if it came out at the same time as Superman?
Might have. I mean, Superman as a thing, it's more along these lines, with the objectively good hero doing these kinds of things. And I mean, it would have really struggled to compete with Superman, I think. It's a much older franchise with older stylings, and I think it would have been a struggle either way.
Yeah, they probably would have had to modernize the character. And that would probably be difficult.
Can't really make the Phantom modern in the sense of 1996 with the whole edgy thing either. So you're kind of stuck in a pretty antiquated styling, and making the movie appeal to a very specific crowd, you will always struggle. All the same, it's become a relatively popular cult movie. It's considered a classic of sorts for what it is.
I feel like it could have been quite an entertaining TV series. Because it has kind of the same vibe as Zorro. the old TV series.
Yeah, basically. It's the same kind of stylings. So maybe as a series, they could have been given a lot more room to build up the character and build up the situation, and maybe have Drax as this recurring villain. It could have worked that way. But at this time, it was basically all about movies, and the whole thing about a lengthier series, it was limited to different kinds of media.
Any ideas for next time?
We were talking about Man in Black.
Yeah.
Besides that, I thought that if you want to watch more of Treat Williams, is a movie I've been suggesting prior, that's Deep Rising, a monster movie. And if you want more Billy Zane at some point, we always have Demon Knight.
I mean, it's basically a comedy, so we can see that outside of Halloween.
And we've also been poking around watching He-Man. And they are coming out with a new one.
Oh yeah, Masters of the Universe, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
I could dig that one out of the shelf.
So I wish you all goodbye for this time. Don't forget to watch, like, and subscribe, and follow our social. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.